As y'all can see by the title and thumbnail, we're going to be talking about how to have more things to talk about and to not be awkward in conversations. So this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was at Hungry Howie's. I like pizza. I'm a pizza guy. I got there and there was a wait on my pizza because I got there quick. And there was a few dudes standing in the line next to me. There was a guy with some dreads and there was another older guy. He had like a cap on or whatever. There was both black guys. And I was standing up at the desk talking to the lady, and the dude behind me with the dreads he said something to me. He's like, yo, how long you been growing that dread in the back of your head? Because he saw this little thing I got here, this little rat tail. I've been growing it for a while. I've been growing it since like last year. And so I told him that. I was like, yeah, I've been growing it for like about a year now. He was like, we used to do that back in the day or whatever. We used to do that back in the 90s or whatever he said. He was talking about some shit, just making small talk, whatever, talking. And, everybody was laughing. The other older gentleman was laughing too. He was kind of talking about it. He chimed in a couple times, whatever. And then it was silent. It was completely silent after that. And everybody was just sitting there awkwardly, right? And in that moment, I had a decision to make. I could have been the new version of myself or the old version of myself. The older version of myself would have just stood there and just been silent the entire time until my pizza was ready, then got up out of there. You know what I'm saying? With the quickness. The new version of me, I was like, you know what? Let me just say something. Let me just not make this awkward. Just let me throw something out there. Just throw a grenade out into the open. You know what I'm saying? To cause a little ruckus. And basically, I just brought up randomly the fact that my barber also mentioned my little rat tail. Because I had been to the barber a couple of days or weeks before this incident. And he had said something about it. He was like, hey, how long you been growing it? So he kind of said the same thing. And so even though my barber has nothing to do with the situation, even though none of them know my barber or like my haircut, my hair wasn't even cut at the time. It didn't even look that good. But I just brought up the barber. I was like, you know what? My barber said the same thing. And then he was talking, and he mentioned Coming to America, how the guy in Coming to America had a little dread in the back of his head. That got them laughing a little bit. That got them, laughing, chuckling, whatever. And then they added on some more stuff. And so eventually we just got back into another little groove, another little conversation, people throwing in little stuff. Even the waiter, the manager behind the little desk was saying something about it. That was a whole nother conversation that sparked up just because I just threw something out there. It wasn't super relevant. It wasn't super meaningful. It wasn't like I was developing a world theory or anything. I just threw out a random fact. Yeah, my barber mentioned it too. And that got a whole nother conversation going. And so after that kind of died down, my pizza still wasn't ready, and neither was his, because he was waiting on a DoorDash, I think. So we was all just still waiting there. And then it got a little bit quiet again. It got a little silent again. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it again. And the dude that I was talking to, like I said, he had dreads. And so what I do, I comment on his dreads. I'm like, hey, how long you been growing yours out? And then he started talking about that. And then we get into a whole long conversation about dreads. And I was like, I don't really know where to get dreads done. I don't really know nobody that do dreads, yada, yada, yada. He'd be like, oh, you can go here. Then he can go da-da-da, da-da-da. And basically, by the time we was done with that, my pizza was ready. And I still ended up talking to him even when I was holding my pizza. Like, I'm literally holding my pizza like this, still talking to him. Because his shit wasn't done yet, apparently. The longest pizza wait ever. And after that, I just dipped him out of there. That was a small little instance, right? Just a little interaction at a pizza joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? But it's really about how I used to do things in my past self. I used to just be super awkward. I used to not have anything to say. I used to get mad at when people talk to me. When I was at a social environment, when I was at my house, or when I was out somewhere and people would come up and talk to me at a party or whatever, I used to get mad. Especially when I was at my own house, because my parents, we have a decent sized house. So my parents would invite people over all the time, because we would have little events, little Easter egg hunts and little gatherings and just whatever, and just normal gatherings just randomly. You know what I'm saying? They just invite people over for however long, hours and hours. People just be talking and stuff. And so they'll come up and talk to me because they know my parents and stuff. They'll come over and talk to me. And I never had anything to say. Like, imagine, I'm 17, 18 years old. I feel bad about myself. I'm like kind of awkward and I feel weird about myself and I don't like how I'm coming across and all that. And so when someone comes to talk to me, the only thing that I could think in my mind was like, man, why are you talking to me? Shut up. Like, don't come and talk to me. I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to say. Don't come and talk to me. That's how I used to think. And of course that affected how I came across in conversations. But I just think about that version of me who used to be scared of talking to random people. And those weren't even random people. Those were people that knew me. And so I would have never done the thing that I just did right there. That comes with anything. I wouldn't have talked to strangers. I wouldn't have said any of that in my past self. And so my point is, the point that I wanted to get across to you today was that when it comes to making conversations not awkward, all you have to do is just throw something out there. Just throw something brain dead out there. And even though it sounds stupid, because people that watch this channel and people that are like me, we're more intellectual type of people. We think deeply about stuff. You know, I be thinking too deeply, honestly. I be overthinking stuff. And so I'm like, if I just say something stupid, if I just say something random, something brain dead, then people wouldn't like it. You know, people would think I'm stupid. People would think I'm this and that. And the truth is, nobody even gives a fuck. Nobody even thinks that. That's the whole point. You just throw something out there so that the other person has something to latch onto. Imagine it's a big pit, like a bottomless pit, and the conversation is a person. And there's three people. There's you, there's the other person, and then there's the conversation. So the conversation is a person as well. And so the conversation is falling down the pit in slow motion, let's say. Let's say it's in slow motion, but it's falling, right, nonetheless, and it's going deeper and deeper. It's a bottomless pit until it's just completely done, and the conversation is over, and it's non-recoverable. The longer you wait, the longer you don't say anything, the further he's going to fall, the further the conversation is going to fall. And so what you do by throwing something out there, just throwing some random little fact or some little thing that you learn, or just throwing something, just something that has anything remotely to do with the conversation, or even not. You know, it might not even have anything to do with the conversation, but just saying something else instead of being completely silent. What that does is, it's like throwing a lasso down to the person that's falling. It's like throwing a lasso down and like hooking it onto the person and then pulling him back up. You're pulling back the conversation. You're giving the person something to latch onto so he can come back up, so the conversation can come back to life. Because if you don't have anything to latch onto, if the other person doesn't have anything to latch onto, then it's just awkward. Like I said, no one knows what to talk about, and they feel like I did. When you say something random, you just extend the lifeline of the conversation. You just allow people to have something to latch onto. You know, like, speaking of the barber, I was at the barber, and my barber, like, he's big, right? You could just tell that he was big and he was buff, even though he had a hoodie on. Like, his arm size was just way too big. I was like, hey, yo, bro, you lift? And then we started talking about lifting or whatever. And I did the same thing. I just kind of threw something out there. I was like, yeah, when I start training, I'd be doing it like 3 or 4 times a week. And I used to go 6 times a week, but now I just do 3 times a week. I just said that. Like, that kind of has something to do with conversation, but what does that really have to do with anything? You know, that's not like a super insightful add to the conversation, right? It's just kind of like a random fact. Yeah, I used to do it this times a week. Now I do it this time. Because he didn't even ask that. I just kind of said that. But what that did was, it gave him something to latch onto, to be like, oh yeah, really? See, what happens is I go 6 times a week, and he was telling me about his specific training program, to where he was talking about how he does 100 sets. Basically, he does 10 times 10, whereas other people would do like one set, or they'll do like one exercise, right? And they'll do it 3 times 10. So they'll do 3 sets of 10 reps. And basically, he was like, I do 10 sets of 10 reps. And so it'll take me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to complete the set. But after that, like, I've gotten a great workout. I've done 100 reps. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good, alternative. I was like, I never really thought about that. It just gave something else for the conversation to latch onto. And so we just ended up talking about weightlifting and fitness and all that type of stuff the entire time that he was cutting my hair until I left. And that's another thing that's different from the past me, because growing up, my dad always cut my hair, actually. I had never even gone to a real barbershop until I was in college. And so when I would get there, I didn't know anybody. Obviously, I didn't know the person that was cutting my hair. And so I just didn't say anything because I was nervous. I didn't really know the barbershop etiquette or whatever. And I would just sit there quietly and nervously and awkwardly the whole time while he's playing music. And he'll be talking to the other barber or whatever and just kind of saying shit. And then over time, I'll try to chime in like, hey, yeah, I remember that. Just little things like that. You just got to learn how to just kind of say something random and then get into it. And the next time I seen him, because he had told me that he was getting married, my barber, he started cutting my hair or whatever. I was like, hey, yo, bro, did you say you was getting married? He was like, yeah. And then we started talking about that. And then that got into a whole other conversation about men and women and a whole bunch of other shit that I be talking about on this channel, actually. I kind of said the same shit to him. But yeah. So basically the point is like, just kind of say something, just like observe things like I did with the barber. I noticed that he was big, so I started talking about that. I remembered that he told me that he was going to get married next year, and so I brought that up. So just remember things that people tell you, and then just observe things about people. Just look at people and be like, oh, what's that? Like with the dreads guy, I'm like, oh yeah, how long you been growing your dreads? Or like this, what he did to me, he noticed that I had this, and he started talking about it. That's how people talk, that's how you not be awkward. Just notice stuff and just kind of observe and just kind of spew it out. Just like, hey, what's that? Whatever. Just talk about stuff. It's not about overthinking, because a lot of people just want to talk to people. That's really what it is. I used to think that people would like condemn me for saying something stupid in a conversation or whatever, but it's not true. People just want to talk. People are lonely as fuck. People are very lonely and they just want to talk to people. And so literally you could just say damn near anything. Honestly, you could go up to a girl and just say anything too. Like, people just want to talk to somebody. And so you can kind of just go up and say whatever. You can kind of just say random shit and it'll work. It'll be okay. So that's my message. That's my point. Is that just go up and just say something to people. Just start talking to random people. And if you have nothing to say, just say something. Like, just make sure you say something. And it can be the most random fact. It can be the most dumbest thing. And I promise you it won't even be that bad. They probably won't even click that it was that stupid. And they'll just respond to it like a normal person. And then you guys will have a conversation. And then who knows, that might be your new best friend. That might be a new friend that you know. Or that might be, a door open for you to get into something else. And yeah, bro, I'm going to be starting a school community for my audience and people that watch me and like my videos and stuff. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And other than that, I'll see y'all later. Thank you for watching. Peace out.